In the first 3 videos, we added a jetpack thruster and fuel system, velocity damage, and health systems, as well as a custom heads-up display to show our player their fuel and health. In today's video, we'll add some randomized sound effects when the character takes damage, as well as a jetpack thruster sound. When it comes to audio, I usually use WAV files in Unreal. And unless stereo audio is specifically needed, I'll always use a mono channel file just because the file size is a bit smaller. In prep for this video, I have a few sounds. First is this looping jetpack sound. Notice I blended the start and end so you can't really tell when it loops. Next is a collection of some hit sounds. Obviously, you can license your own files or record something yourself, but I have some files below for you to use in our demo. First, let's create a folder called Audio. Control-Shift-N for a new folder, and let's drag in all 5 hit sounds first. These come in as sound waves, but I'd like to combine these into a single randomizing sound cue. Just right-click with all of them selected and choose Create Single Cue. We can name that male grunt _ cue. Now, when we double-click to open, you can see we already have all 5 sounds going through a randomizer, which is great. Every time you play this cue, it should be a random sound. I'll just bump our volume to 1 so it's nice and clear, save, exit the cue, and let's open up our first-person blueprint. We could add this directly into the velocity damage graph if we'd like. Just drag our sound cue into our first-person character components to add our sound or our sound cue as a component. Then we can simply drag it into the graph to get a reference. Drag out and let's play the sound right before we trigger our logic at the end. One thing we want to check is in the sound component itself and the details, let's just scroll down and uncheck Auto Activate. That just makes sure our character doesn't grunt as soon as we load into the game. Compile and let's test it out. As you can see, every time we deal damage, our player also gives us a random grunt. The reason we put this after setting the health is you could implement some of your own logic here if you want to take this a step further. For example, after we set the new health, we could do a branch and check if the health is equal to 0. If it is, let's branch off and play an alternative death sound. Just import and create a cue the same way we did before, bring it in as a component, drag it out, play it, and make sure it's not going to auto-activate. Now we can play test, and if our health runs out, if it reaches 0, we make our unique death sound. Now, obviously, our character can still run around after death, which we don't want, but we'll handle that in just a bit. For now, we know we have this logic to tell our game when we die. We'll come back to this in the next video. For now, let's drag in our jetpack sound, create a cue, we just right-clicked, and in this cue, let's add the node looping. Now, when we play our cue, the sound loops forever. Let's add this as a component like we've done before. Make sure we turn off auto activate, and in our jump and jetpack graph, let's just add some logic to our input action jump. Let's say after we set the jetpack is active, let's get our sound, just drag it in from the component and play it. After we complete the action or let go of spacebar, let's stop the sound. Now, the problem is, if you playtest this, the game doesn't actively check when our fuel runs out. Let's just go up to this old false branch from before and drag this down to stop the sound as well. Now, if we hold down thrust until we run out, the sound automatically stops. When we generate more, we can use it again. That's it for part 4. We have everything working perfectly. We have a thrust system with sound, fuel generation, a health system with velocity damage and damage sounds, and we have the very start to what could be a death or lost condition in our game. That's coming in the last video, so subscribe and I'll be back to finish this off. If you don't want to wait, all parts are available right now as early access for my Patreon subscribers of at least $3 or more. That's patreon.com/RileyB3D, which is by far the best way to support this channel. Thanks, and I'll see you in the final video.